Hello, everyone. This was a good week of chapters, with everything being all over the place, with nothing actually connecting to one another. But all of the chapters were fairly entertaining and fairly fun. So we're going to start off with One Piece, chapter 1040, and this was a good chapter showing the full defeat of Big Mom. Now, as I pretty much said, she fell through the island and crashed. And I wasn't expecting the explosion at the end, but she's done for this arc. She was full on defeated, and she's done. She's out of the arc. Kid and Law got the job done and showed that they had no fear of her at all. That's why Soul Pocus didn't work, as I believe she believed she was going to be able to win with it. And if anything, she was really monstrous all the way to the end, holding out against every attack that was thrown her way, she was nearly unstoppable. They were able to finally finish her off through Law's ability to cut off sound and stopping her from being able to control her main homies. And because of that, she fell through the island and pretty much was knocked unconscious and defeated in this arc. Like I said, I imagine what'll happen is as the island falls into the mountains or wherever away from the flower capital and everyone's getting ready just to watch Luffy and Kaido, we'll see that she's getting back up and is furious but sees the state she's in and everyone else, and she'll leave. And or her crew finally shows up and saves her and retreats, basically leaving Perospero for dead, but I don't think any of them liked him anyway. So that's where that whole piece of the equation is going to leave off, is what I'm assuming, and Big Mom is ultimately defeated, and the major information at the end of the chapter, with Momo explaining that Zunisha is arriving, and that Zunisha is a criminal from 800 years ago, and that Zunisha was with Joy Boy. It's surprising. The criminal part I'm ignoring just simply because Momo would say that, as it's more or less being revealed that Zunisha is a pirate, which is bizarre, and it makes now everything super interesting. What other major secrets are bound to be unlocked? What else is there for us to learn, and other thing. It's a very exciting piece of information, though One Piece is on break next week, thus we'll have to wait another week, if not more, to see what the actual answers are. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter an A. It was very good with the defeat of Big Mom, who, ironically enough, was actually cursing Roger for not telling all of her era what the One Piece is, which I thought was such an interesting take on her being bitter that Roger left her and Kaido and all of them to deal with basically Roger's mess, and the fact that she was upset she never got to see the One Piece. I thought there was some interesting character development for Big Mom, and I'm excited to see her again in the future, see if he changes her character up a bit more, have her be a bit more bitter, and now she's losing to even the new generation. So I'm curious with how that goes, but that was the big piece of that. And the information about Zunisha makes the next chapter extraordinarily interesting. Now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 323, and this was a good chapter, showing more of Yami and Nox's relationship, their friendship, and their sort of history, and showing that Yami is very loyal to him as well as Noct is loyal to Yami, and how that all goes, and them being resolved to fight Lucifero head on and full on as partners, as everyone else is still struggling to keep themselves standing up to fight Lucifero. I don't imagine them winning. I still don't think it's a right call. I think it's a bad call if they do. I could still see it, but I wouldn't. It still doesn't look likely. It looks more likely that Yami will die here, though, the more things go on, despite his seeming power-up from being connected to the tree, to Cliffoth, and seeing that he's seemingly infused with devil energy, but I don't think he's strong enough to fight Lucifero, and because of that, Lucifero will eventually kill him as things continue to look dire for Lucifero before he finally turns the tables one final time to take the victory, as everyone else escapes from this entire mess of an issue. But as for the chapter, nothing else is really there outside of the fact that Gray was able to heal Yami and that Van John's got the sword. The elves, or at least the main trader elf, can't fight anymore because he doesn't have a grimoire, which I thought was interesting. And the battle's not looking great, but things could turn around simply because Yami's there, though I would be surprised if it did. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing Yami and Noct partner up and prepare themselves to go fight Lucifero. Like I said, will they win? Probably not, but I do expect them to put up one hell of a fight before having everyone escape, while either one or the two of them fight Lucifero on their own to buy everyone time, and ultimately Yami saving Noct's life before dying himself, maybe with Van John's to repent or something, who knows. I don't imagine this goes out with a victory for the good guys. Now we're on to Undead Unluck Chapter 98, and this was a good chapter of Andy leaving the Union to go after Fuko and stop Ruin. The bulk of the chapter is just that, seeing everyone else, having Andy say his goodbyes, some character work for everyone, like Ishin liking Top and Chikara liking Titania, Andy being able to figure them both out simply because he's good at reading people, and he himself coming to terms with his own feelings for Fuko. And so the story is ramping up to a peak in its overall storytelling, and I'm curious to see what avenue they go down. I don't think it's ending anytime soon, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, as much as that sounds oxymoronic. But the way that this is going, it could end very soon, or it could stretch out for quite a while longer yet. And I look forward to seeing which avenue it goes, because no matter what, the story's been very fun so far. And with Andy leaving, once again, it now leaves it that it's Andy and Fuko on their own for the first time in over 70 chapters, if not more. So I look forward to seeing what this next arc does. Maybe we learn more about Ruin. Maybe we'll learn more about Uma Ghost. Maybe we just learn more about Fuko and Andy, for that matter, before things go really all over the place. Also, Andy leaves the Union in charge of defeating God and defending the world as he looks for Fuko. So we'll see how well that works out. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing how close Andy's gotten with everyone, as well as seeing how close everyone's gotten with him, and seeing how the Union has changed from the beginning of the story, which is something that'll be very interesting if this story goes down the avenue. I kind of hope it does. But for now, things are very much interesting and looking up. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic, and Muscles, Chapter 96, and this was a pretty great chapter, mostly because the humor was ridiculous and Mash's power-up was not disappointing. It is the same level of both fun and stupid as Rock Lee dropping the weights from the giant during the Chunin exams, because Mash does the same thing with the extremely exaggerated explosion from them dropping, and then Mash's athleticism jumps up so much that Demina can't do anything against him, and Demina loses to one punch. The way Mash beats him is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen, and yet also the most, like, making him so powerful that there's just no one that can stop him, and it's so funny. The series is ridiculous, and it's great, because now Mash has Super Saiyan Mash mode, and Demina, who was already in anger peak mode, couldn't even do anything, couldn't even move to stop him from grabbing a bucket and pouring the water into the abyss. He stopped Neptune and Demina just by doing that, because he was so fast that no one can see it, before eventually punching Demina in the face. I can only imagine it's not quite over, but I also think it would be hysterical if it was, and Mash just won right now, which is so anticlimactic, but yet at the same time it'd be hysterical. That's what I'm kind of hoping for at the moment. So overall, I think I'm going to give this chapter an A, just for the ridiculousness as well as the genuine fun factor of Mash turning even more overpowered in a matter of seconds because he took off some weights is hysterical. Damina was a good villain and even overpowered Mash, only to be overpowered himself and potentially lose in like one hit, which would be hysterical. So now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 58, and this was a fun chapter, having it that Sakamoto is able to get his 3 bullets because there are actually more administrators around, so I was shocked by that because they blend in very well. I didn't see it coming. And the new girl is inspired by someone and refuses to take charity, so I'm assuming that she'll continue to help Sakamoto as now he plans to look for Shin, as Shin then takes on another student who's actually fairly skilled. However, Shin is able to outmatch him, showing that Shin has grown quite a bit. Also a very funny moment of the other student character being 14 calling Shin, who's 21, old, which I just thought was very funny. And seeing that Shin has grown stronger, quite a bit so, in this even environment, though Sakamoto is not struggling either, but the point still stands that Shin is a lot stronger than he was previously. He might not have won against this kid if he hadn't powered up like he did. Now, is the fight fully over? I'm not sure, but it would be interesting if it was, and Shin just outright won. I imagine Sakamoto will show up, beat the kid, and then they'll survive whatever it is. Because again, I imagine this is only phase 1 of this test, so I wonder what the next few phases will be, as well as who has survived this whole ordeal and what characters they are. So overall, I'll give this chapter a B. It was good. It showed Sakamoto being very strong, as well as Shin, and developing at least one of the other quote-unquote antagonists, and even our new potential ally in the crew of Sakamoto. Also, an intriguing character for the new ally mentions a mentor that she looks up to, and I'm curious to see who that is. If it's someone we know, if it's someone that Sakamoto knows, if it's someone just ridiculous that no one should have actually looked up to, but she did. So that was all of the major chapters. They were all good, but as I said, none of them correlated to each other. You had crazy team-ups from Sakamoto and Black Clover having just different types of team-ups, to power-ups with Mash just being extraordinarily powerful and powering up quite a bit. And then you have more or less victories with Sakamoto and One Piece. None of them really mesh well together, but they were all entertaining nonetheless. Now for the rest of the chapters, we have My Hero, which was fine, Dr. Stone, which continues its very interesting point of what and who the Y-Man is. It's not quite the decision I would make, but it is a very interesting one, and I am glad they're kind of doubling down on it, and I'm curious to see how it ends, more so than any other decision they could have made. The Elusive Samurai was good. They continue their travels to Kyo, and now we have a new arc that could be potentially annoying or could be interesting. I'm saving my judgment for how it ends, but this could be very annoying, is all I'm going to say with this arc. So hopefully it's not either too long or drawn out. Then Yazakura family, it ended up going from a typical character building cute episode to very much plot relevant, with the eldest brother deciding to take on the entirety of their new evil organization that they're fighting on his own. So I'm curious to see how that ends up and unfolds with everything going on. Blue Box was fine, a bit more sport heavy than usual, but just still the same, more heavy in romance than anything else. P times 6 was actually fairly good, showing that Lucky's sister is actually quite mean, and I'm very curious to see how Lucky gets back at her for what she did in this chapter. The whole story is very fun, and I really want to see it go along a decent length of time, so I'm hoping that the author isn't rushing, but for now, this chapter makes me excited for the next chapter. Ashimon was good. They achieved their goal from the last chapter, but now they've hit a speed bump in what they hoped would be an easy route to their end goal. And Doron was very good, as it showed that there are more of whatever their little monster demons are lying in wait that are very powerful. However, this story suffers from concept fatigue, this is about, I don't even know how many within the recent years of X main character can't get in the regular way to their organization, but they find a way in through the means of the enemy helping them, like Kaiju number 8, Attack on Titan, there's so many. Black Clover in a manner of speaking, Jujutsu Kaisen, Naruto, all of them have X evil thing, except that X evil thing isn't evil and is helping the main character. So the government's not happy with it, but they use them. It's the same story we've heard at this point many times before. So I'm wondering how this one differentiates itself before eventually probably getting canceled or ending prematurely. I'm curious to see what this one will do. But for now, I thought it was a fun chapter, and the villain as well as the rest of the characters are very quirky, and I like that, and I want to see it continue to be this over-the-top character story with a decent plot added to it. So that was all of the chapters. They were all very good. They were all interesting in their own way. And yeah, there's not much else to say. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And as always, thank you for watching.